Hey everyone. So I thought I'd talk about my Witch Doctor with the Helltooth harness, uh, humongoid Gargantuan build or pet build. So basically, what this is it's top of the leaderboards. There are some people who are doing Legacy of Nightmares builds for Witch Doctors that are getting some progression. They're getting into the 90s and everything, but most players right now who are doing the highest grade of rifts are working with the Helltooth harness set. And so this is basically what I've got here. So I have 5 of the 6 pieces, and then I'm using a ring of royal grandeur in my cube to reduce the set limit to 5 so I can get the 6 set bonus. And so what I've got here is we want to build upon the Gargantuan damage, and because with Gargantuan we're going to be picking his humongoid ability. He's going to summon a Gargantuan zombie to fight for you. The Gargantuan cleaves multiple enemies for 585% of your weapon damage is cold. So we are going to, most of our damage is going to be going through the Gargantuan. So we are going to be looking at getting Gargantuan damage on as many items as possible, and then trying to get our cold damage increase to increase the amount of damage that the Gargantuan is going to do. And on top of that, we're also going to want to get our personal damage up as high as we can get it. So this isn't like the Legacy of Nightmare Crusader where your personal damage doesn't matter. This is it's definitely crit, hit, and attack speed are abilities you want to try to get on as many items as you can. So this Helltooth mantle rolled really well. Chance to deal 11% area damage. Yeah, it would be nice if that were higher, but that's decent. Cooldown reduction. I would like to have more cooldown reduction, but I'll take that. And then you got the Gargantuan damage, which I believe at the time was probably Vitality. But I rolled out that Vitality for Gargantuan damage just because I'm going to be spending most of the fight trying to stay back away from enemies as far as I can, and then I'll let my Gargantuan and my dogs and my Templar be in melee of everything, deal with everything without myself getting hit by anything besides mobs that randomly charge your character kind of thing. And then secondary, it's got a decent cold resist. It would be nice if that health globes and poisons were pickup radius instead. But this is the way it kind of turned out. So that was a good item. Helltooth Mask, Ancient, so Intellect Vitality, and then critical hit chance. You're going to want to roll into that to increase your damage. Secondary got decent arcane resistance and then reduced cooldown and control impairing effects by 21%. Well, that doesn't hurt. And I'm going to be using this life amulet to get myself more life, because my life is kind of on the low side. If I had more life, I might consider putting a diamond in here for cooldown reduction, because right now my cooldown reduction is kind of low, but I have a passive skill which helps the cooldown reduction to be a little bit better when I'm killing mobs. Let's take a look at it so we know what we're talking about. So Grave Injustice, gain 1% of life and mana, reduce the cooldown of all your skills by 1 second when an enemy dies within 20 yards. So that benefits that. But here's the issue: is there isn't a lot of cooldown reduction items that we need to worry about. Like with Legacy of Nightmare Bombardment Crusaders, their abilities are long cooldowns. You have to wait to get like Bombardment to come up, or to get up on your horse to use your horse. Now for this, these cooldowns are much shorter. There's like 12 seconds cooldown. This guy, once you get up your zombie dogs, they're up all the time unless they die, so this isn't an issue. Wall of Death cooldown 8 seconds, that's very low, so that's not a big issue. And the humongoid, once you summon them, they're up all the time unless they die, and then you got to resummon them. But you don't have to keep resummoning them. They're not up for like 15 seconds and then they're dying. That's not the way that goes. And then Pyrnado, that one's 16-second cooldown, so that is not long. And then Jaunt, 10-second cooldown. So we don't have to put a lot of our We don't have to try re-rolling properties into cooldown reduction. I would say go for area damage if you can, if you have the choice between cooldown reduction and area damage. But definitely get that Gargantuan damage on every item you can. That's the big hitter right there. As a matter of fact, Gargantuan damage is #1 item that you gotta roll when you can roll it. Alright, so we go on to this. This is an endless walk set. So what happens if you can read the set bonus while moving, damage taken is reduced by up to 50%. So if you get into trouble, you can start moving and you'll start building up damage reduction. It's not instant. You don't get 50% right away. You gotta start moving and wait for that ability to come up. So like you have this, you have stopping for directions. Damage dealt is increased, so this is the part of the ring that when standing still, damage is dealt is increased by up to 100%. So once I start moving, you see that I'm starting to lose damage increase and gain survival. So it takes a little while to get this finally maxed out, and then you stop and you lose one and you start to get the other one. So that's how Traveler's Pledge is going to work. These are some very decent stats. This is a very good stat stick. Yeah, this is actually pretty excellent. Secondary is great. Cold resistance, definitely uses much cold resistance. Reduced damage from melee attacks is very important. Bane of the Stricken is very important for taking down that Rift Guardian at the very end of it. Plus you get each attack you make against enemy increases damage it takes from your attacks by 1.64%. So that doesn't hurt. So you're applying damage to whatever you're increasing your damage to adds on top of having the 25% increased damage against bosses and Rift Guardians. So Bane the Stricken is just too good to not have. Alright, Lacumba. Is that Lacumba's Ornament? So what this does, it reduces damage taken by 6% for each stack of Soul Harvest you have. So you're going to want to have the ability Soul Harvest, and then you're going to want to have this Sacred Harvester either on your character or in your cube. And what this does is you see that secondary says Soul Harvest now stacks up to 10 times. So that builds upon the, increase your armor by 10% per harvested enemy and reduce the movement speed by 10%, as well as you feed upon the life force of enemies 18 yards, gain 3% intelligence for a 30-second enemy, and this effect stacks up to 5 times. With this, you're going to get up to 10 times, and then it's going to add on top of the reduced damage here for every stack. So 6 times, 10%, so that's 60% damage reduction. So this is pretty much a must-have. Also, you see that I got cold skills already baked in. That's really good. Critical hit chance is the next thing I'm going to put my point, or critical hit chance, increased is the next thing you're going to want to have. And then I rolled vitality, whatever the other ability, maybe it was armor or something, I put in a vitality because my vitality is kind of low. Health and go pick up radius, that's pretty decent. Alright, here's Helltooth Tunic. We got intellect vitality. We rolled gargantuan damage, that's very important. Try to get that maxed out as high as you can. There's your cold resistance and your golden iron pickup. No, by the way, I'm sorry, I should be reading you what the set bonus does. Alright, so I'm already on the 3rd item and I haven't read it to you. Alright, 2 set bonus. Enemies hit by your primary skills: Acid Cloud, Fire Bats, Zombie Charger, Zombie Dogs, Gargantuan, Grasp of the Dead, Piranhas, or Wall of Death are affected by necrosis, becoming slowed, taking 150% weapon damage every second, and taking 20% increased damage from all sources for 10 seconds. So we want to make as much weapon damage as we can. We want as high DPS on our character as we can, because that's going to bake into that weapon damage that we're doing every second. Plus they are going to be, when we use our skills that apply this necrosis, that will bring up the 4-set bonus if you have a 4-set item. So 4-set is after applying necrosis to your enemies. So in this build we are going to have Zombie Dogs, Gargantuan, Piranhas, and Wall of Death all have the ability to apply necrosis to the adds. So after applying this necrosis to an enemy, you take 60% reduced damage to 10 seconds. So you need that to kind of help yourself improve survival, because you see there's not a lot of toughness in this build. So you're going to want to keep that out and keep it applied on adds. Get necrosis up on as many adds as you can, because that's going to increase your survival. And I can kind of maybe show you, maybe I'll run do a rift, or you can just take a look at a rift that I had done earlier, because I have a Greater Rift 80 that I did not too long ago. Sometimes when I'm doing greater rifts and things are going well, I'll flash what my character is and what's going on. You can like pause and you can see what's going on. You see what buffs I got going on. You can see, you know, my damage increasing, my toughness increasing, what kind of things are going on, to see how you can go from having 14,000 toughness and going in a Greater Rift 80 and not die, because that toughness is going way up on multipliers for damage reduction from things like, you know, the force set and things like these bracers. Okay, so 6th set. 6th set. After casting Wall of Death, gain a 1400 increased damage for 15 seconds to your primary skills, which are as primary skills: Acid Cloud, Fire Bats, Zombie Charger, Zombie Dogs, Gargantuan, Grasp of the Dead, Piranhas, and, oh, by the way, Wall of Death again. So so I already have Zombie Dogs, Gargantuan, and Piranhas that I'm going to be using. Wall of Death again, I wonder if that's based on the bracer, on these Jerem's bracer, that gives you a chance to recast it again. Maybe that's what it's trying to say to us, is that if you choose this bracer instead of the Kumba, that the next that you can use Wall of Death yet again, and you will gain 14%, 1400 increased damage again. And then maybe if you use again, I don't know if it adds on top of that again for like 2800% damage. I have no idea. Maybe I could try it. I don't know. Probably not. I like the Kumba just because you're going to need that survival, because my toughness is so low. You need all these things. You need, you know, the bonus here, the secondary here, plus the force set here to increase survival, because you're gonna your toughness is just too low. Witching Hour. This is just a stat stick. That's all it is. I've tried the Belt of Transcendence. This isn't too bad. The Sycophants, the fetishes. You see, I lose a little damage from this. And of course that damage reduction is lost by the big guy, your Gargantuan. And this is where most of your damage is coming from, this big guy. You're not going to get nearly as much damage from having like 12 of the fetishes up as you will get from, you know, the 11% more damage on Gargantuan, because he just destroys. Oh yeah, and then Tasker and Theo, you can either have this on your character or in your cube. So this is just increased attack speed of your pets, because pets are going to be doing most of your damage. Mostly it's your Gargantuan that's going to destroy stuff. And this is just pure stat stick again. Intellect, and you get attack speed, critical hit chance, critical hit damage, gold and health pickup radius, so that's pretty good. Short Man's Finger. Gargantuan instead summons 3 smaller Gargantuans, each more powerful than before, so this increases the amount of damage that the Gargantuan's going to do times 3. Plus it's a stat stick, so we got critical hit chance, critical hit damage. Yeah, this is a pretty good item. You see I got Bane of the Trap, because we'll be using Perinatal, which is a crowd controlling effect, which will work off the Bane of the Trap, will trigger Bane of the Trap. I also have, well, let's see. Trying to see. I don't know if zombies chilled to the bone causes a loss of control. I guess chilled isn't slowing them. It's just causing them to take increased damage. Some people would take, I think on the zombie dogs, will go for, where is it? Leeching Beast. Your zombie dog heal you as they attacked. If I found myself having a lot of trouble, I might go into Leeching Beast just to get some more healing back. But for right now, I'm okay with it. What's my life on hit anyway? Life on hit, well, that's pretty nothing. So that's not really as much a benefit. I'd rather take the damage increase and just be very careful not to be in range of anything get, one shot or two shot. Again, Bane of the Trap aura that reduces the movement speed of enemies within 15 yards by 30%. Okay, that takes care of that. And here are the pants. That's just intellect, vitality, resist all elements. And then, the secondary aren't all that great. Wish they were better, but whatever. As you see, I'm using intellect gems, the topazes instead of diamonds. Maybe at a later time I would do that, but again, when you have all these abilities, you have these secondary abilities that improve your damage reduction. When you get those things maxed out, when you get your soul life up to 10 stacks, so it's 60% damage reduction, on top of the fact that it's increasing your intellect, which is more damage reduction. Yeah, you don't have to worry necessarily that much about the diamonds, because your toughness will get up pretty decent. Compass Rose. Again, it's a stat stick, but it's also got that area damage, which is very big. Rather have that over cooldown reduction, because there's not a lot of abilities here that have long cooldowns that I need to depend on. They're relatively short cooldowns. So my opinion is, do not put any points into cooldown reduction. Put them into chance to deal 15% area damage, unless you have a chance to put as much points into Gargantuan damage. Then that's the way you would want to do that. Or critical hit chance, critical hit damage, attack speed, or just plus damage. Also plus intellect. Okay, Henry's Perquisition. So there's a couple of things that you could use here. You could use Henry's Perquisition because of the secondary ability. First time an enemy deals damage to you, reduce the damage by 69%, because 69 always wins. And charm the enemy for 3 seconds. So that's very beneficial. There's also Eucapian Serpent that you can 25% damage you take is redirected to your zombie dogs. So that might be a benefit, because that's, all the damage that you're taking, versus this one which says the first time you take damage you're going to survive it, but you keep taking damage, you're going to get in trouble. I'm going to take a quick look at this Eucapian. Acid Cloud. Okay, yeah, you can definitely get Gargantuan instead. I can see Gargantuan here. So I could take that Acid Cloud damage and make it Gargantuan damage, so it would have a similar it would have what I'm looking for re-rolling the property. So that's something I would do. If I were to take this Eucapian and try it out, I would have to re-roll the increased Acid Cloud damage by 15% and get as much Gargantuan damage in that place. Otherwise I'm going to lose way too much Gargantuan damage, because Gargantuan damage is everything for this build. You've got to have it. There's the boots. This is just, there's not really very much you can get on boots. Intellect, vitality, got some armor there, got some extra movement speed. If you've watched my videos before, you see that I don't like spending Paragon points on movement speed. I either have abilities that help increase my movement speed, or I just live with the fact that I'm not going to be going at the max movement speed, which is 25%. I just don't care about it. Secondary is code resistance. That's pretty decent, so that helps a little bit. Thorns doesn't help anything. And then Sacred Harvester. So Soul of Harvest now stacks up to 10 times. You could try putting this in a cube and maybe going with, what would I want to go with? Yeah, perhaps a Gibden might help. So yeah, if you didn't have a good Sacred Harvester but you had a good Gibden, you might, if you have the Sacred Harvester in your cube, check that as your first item. Instead of the furnace, you would have the Sacred Harvester in there, and then you'd go with the Gibden. Chance to summon a fetish, but again, those fetishes just aren't doing really that much damage. I don't think it's worth it. So I think the Harvester here is better. This furnace, I don't know. because it's only damage against elites. Not that 50% damage isn't helpful, especially when you get higher, because those elites have so much more damage and everything. This might be more valuable than you know, putting this in the cube and making this my first roll, you know, my weapon power. I don't know, I could try it out, see what happens. Maybe it's gonna work, maybe it's not such a good idea. Also in my cube is Mask of Jerem, so pets deal 100% increased damage. So depending on what happens, if I've seen some people who have their oh wait, I'm looking at this one. Their Mask of Jerem that rolls pets the 100% increased damage right on this item itself, which is awesome. And then if that happens, you would put this one up here instead, and then you go like change this one out for the Helltooth gloves in this place, and then maybe you would have this one in your cube. If you can't get a really good one, didn't roll very well. I mean, if this roll that yours, like mine's 40, if this turned out to be 100%, I would put that here. Then I'd put Helltooth gloves here, and then I would take this as my armor socketed, because for the gloves it's 50% increased attack speed. But in this case, it's just that this one didn't roll that great. That one didn't roll great on their secondary, so Max of Jerem wins out. And then the Ring of Royal Grandeur, because you gotta have 5 items. You gotta be able to get the 6 set bonus. Okay, so here's what I'm rocking for my details. Again, area damage. Throw everything you can to it. Cooldown reduction isn't nearly as important. Cold damage increase, yes, is very important, at least if you're going to use Humungoid with the ability that's cold damage. If you should choose to do any of the other Humungoid, there's like Restless Giant, where they gain a buff when they meet an elite enemy or near 5 enemies and rages for 15 seconds. That might be better. It's possible. I guess it's up to you, but I'm seeing most players are going with Humungoid over Restless Giant. And I don't think you want this. You definitely don't want Wrathful Protector. If I'm understanding this correctly, he only exists for 15 seconds and then he disappears, and then you gotta wait for the cooldown. So don't pick this. Big Stinker. Okay, so this one is Gargantuan. Poison Cloud. Yeah, this is more weapon damage than this. And then Gargantuan slams the enemies, stuns them. That's not very much, especially when you're going to lose all that weapon damage. This or Restless Giant, I would say, are the 2 ones you're going to want to pick for that. Alright, back to the details. We go down. Resistance, crowd control, maximum life. I'd like to have more of that. Let's see. Nothing else here really matters so much. Mana regen, that's not so terribly important. Movement speed, again, I could care less about that stuff. Items, Superagon points. I'm putting everything to intellect. I'm not wasting any on vitality, movement speed, or maximum mana. So you're just going to want to put everything you can. In the offense, cooldown reduction is the last thing you're going to want to put anything into. So I would be putting critical hit damage, and attack speed, and cooldown reduction is the absolute last thing you want to do. Here, I just say resist all. I think provides more survival, life, armor, life regen, and last. It's not a lot anyway. I would say area damage is pretty big, and then life on hit, resource cost reduction is not. You're not going to have a lot of resource issues. And gold fine. Oh yeah, let's take a look at the skills. So, Piranha's Perinatal. Self-explanatory. You just use the Perinatal because it gives you the ability to group up enemies in one spot, so that the Gargantuan, when he's doing his cleave, can cleave as many mobs as possible. The dogs can, hit more mobs at the same time. Templar can apply his damage and his CC, his lightning CC on the what am I trying to remember? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there it is, Wayward. I always forget. Yeah, Wayward secondary lightning damage is a chance to deal 30% chance to stun for 1.5% seconds. So you're going to want Pyronado to kind of group up enemies in one spot as best you can for AoE damage and stuns. John, this is just your survival. Your oh shit, I took damage and I can use this ability to reduce the damage I take. You can also use this to run into the middle of mobs, pop your soul harvest to get languish, and then get back out. And soul harvest languish, there you go, just feed on the enemies. You get intellect five times, plus then you got the weapon that I have in here, Sacred Harvester. Soul harvest can now stack up to 10 times, so you can get 10 stacks of 3% intellect, so that's 30% intellect. That's more damage, it's more toughness, it's more damage for the Gargantuans to get their damage up. Plus it's 10% per harvest enemy to reduce their movement speed by 80%. Increase your armor and oops, I read that wrong. Increase your armor by 10% and reduce their movement speed. Zombie dogs, chilled to the bone. I'm choosing chilled to the bone because I want to increase damage done to them. If I thought I needed Leeching Beast, if I was taking too much damage, I might consider doing that. Maybe Lifelink might be helpful. This isn't really beneficial because, I think the 15% increased damage from all sources means they're taking 50% increased damage from Gargantuan. And that just builds upon this, because you want your Gargantuan to get as much multipliers and damage, because this is all your almost all your damage is Gargantuan. So Chill to the Bone is going to build upon the Gargantuan damage. There's Rabid Dogs. Nah, that's nothing. That's not too impressive. Here you go, Wall of Death. Summon Circle of Spirits, 6 seconds, deal 1200 weapon damage. That's good because you're doing a lot. You got a lot of weapon damage in this set. As cold chills nearby enemies by 60% and reduces their damage up by 25% for 3 seconds. So that helps you with survival. And then there's a Gargantuan that we've been talking about. So basically that, or Restless Giant, nothing else here is really worth anything. Passive skills. So we got Spirit Vessel. This is your free, free. Oh, why am I drawing a blank? So, yeah, if you take fatal damage, this is your survival. This gets you a chance to avoid getting one shot. So this is your mulligan. I knew I'd get it eventually if I just talked it through. Next, Pierce the Veil. I'm choosing that to increase damage again, because damage is everything in this set. You want to increase as much damage as you can. Mana costs, there aren't hardly any mana cost. I almost never have any problem with my mana at all. So I'm choosing Pierce the Veil to increase damage. Midnight Feast, the damage of your zombie dogs and Gargantuan is increased by 50%. So again, that Gargantuan is just getting really big and buffed. Plus you may have one additional zombie summoned at one time. And the zombie dog's damage isn't terrible. It's not the Gargantuan. And then Graven Dust is gain 1% of your max life and mana and reduce the cooldown of all your skills by 1 second when an enemy dies within 20 yards. I don't know. Maybe I could trade it Graven Justice for something else. This may not be all that important because that cooldown reduction isn't terribly necessary. And whether or not gaining life and mana counts as much, I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I wonder. This might not be too bad. Increased survival. No, that's no good. Well, you don't want to be that close to mobs, so that's no good. Let's see, following skills, cooldowns, no. movement speed. Yeah, nah, you get one additional zombie dog, plus you're a little bit faster. Maybe that'd be helpful. This might not be bad. Fetish, they don't do a lot of damage, but, you know, it's damage. Can't complain about that. Yeah, that doesn't really matter. We don't have mana issues. Yeah, we aren't using any of those abilities. I already have that one. Life of the zombie dogs and gargantuans don't matter. One additional zombie dog. Me. Mana. Cost of pain and life. No. I don't have any poison beyond perinatal, so I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. Gruesome feast. Yeah, but it's only if you get a health globe, so I would say no on that one. No, that doesn't help very much at all. Reduce the damage you take in your damage of your pets. Maybe Jungle Fortitude would be in place of Grave Injustice. Perhaps I could do that. Alright, let's take a look at the Templar. You already kind of looked at him. He's got Cannot Die. He's using Thunder Fury, because the secondary ability chance on hit to blast enemies with lightning, dealing yada yada weapon damage as lightning, and then jumping in additional nearby enemies. Each enemy hit has their attack speed and moving speed reduced by 30% for 3 seconds. Jumps up to 5 targets. Okay, so that's good. And it's lightning damage, because that's going to build upon this Wayward. We're going to want lightning damage, because lightning damage has 33% chance to stun for 1.5, and we want stuns, because when they're stunned they can't attack us. And when they're stunned, they're going to proc the Bane of Trapped gem that I'm going to be using. S of Johan, so he can pull mobs together every I don't know, 30 seconds, 1 minute. I don't know what the cooldown is. Slow them by 60%. I'd like to have that 80, but it's not. There's Oculus Ring, chance to create an area of focus power on killing monster. Damage increased by X% while standing in the area. So you can stand in this damage area and gain damage increase to all your abilities while it's available. So this isn't just for the Templar, it's also for you. So definitely throw that in there. Freeze of Deflection, blocking an attack has a chance to freeze the attacker for 1.5 seconds. So there you go. And then it's just I want the heal, I want that more than I want the taunt. Just in case I get damage, that helps. You take a little damage, Templar's going to throw you a quick heal, so that's very important. I think it's better than taunting. I need the heals more. Life regen, so that helps a little bit. Slowed. I mean, he's already kind of slowing them. Deal damage and stunning nearby enemies. Yeah, I definitely want that one. Massive blow. Nah. I'd rather have the extra stun. And then Guardian, when your life is low, Templar comes to your aid. Yeah, the Templar saved me a couple of times when my spirit vessel couldn't save me. Yeah, resource generation, there's no need for that. So, that's it. Wow, it's been a little over 30 minutes. I think I've shown you basically everything. I'm going to try to do more videos. I'm going to work on getting Caudasan's Despair intellect added to all my ancient items that don't have it yet. And then I'm going to try to push a little bit higher, see how high I can get in terms of greater rifts. And I think that's it. So just wrapping it up. Thank you for your time. It took a little bit long, but hopefully this is going to help you. If you're doing Witchdoctor, you're interested in knowing it and want to know what you can do. I'm not sure if the Helltooth Mantle is the set that you get when you level up your character. But if you can get your hands on this, it's a really, really good set. It does higher, greater rifts, and it does have a lot of survival built into it. It's not terribly fast, but it's something. And, okay, that's it. I'm going to stop talking. Take it easy, dudes.